They found her in the rain. That's what everyone would remember later. Not the blood, not the torn coat, not the way she still stood upright. Just the rain, and the fact that someone had dared. The Mafia Queen didn't bleed in public. She didn't stumble. She didn't let anyone close enough to leave marks. But that night, someone had touched her face, and by morning, the entire city would pay for witnessing it. I was 3 blocks away when the call came. Her voice was steady, cold, but I heard what she didn't say. The pause before she gave me the location. The way she said my name like she was reminding herself who to trust. When I arrived, she was standing under a broken streetlight. Rain streaked through the blood on her temple. Her left eye was swelling shut. And she was staring at the ground like she was deciding whether to burn the entire block. I crossed to her without thinking. Took her face in both hands, careful, tilting it toward what little light there was. "Who did this to you?" She didn't answer. Didn't pull away either. Just looked at me with her one good eye, and I saw something I'd never seen before. She didn't know if I'd fix it or walk away. "Before we go further, tell us, where in the world are you watching this unfold from? This story reaches further than any of us expected." She got in the car without looking at me. Blood had dried in a thin line from her temple to her jaw. Her hands weren't shaking, but they should have been. I pulled away from the curb slowly. Gave her time to speak first. She didn't. 3 blocks. That's how long the silence lasted before I broke it. "Where do you want me to take you?" "The estate." Her voice was flat. Empty of everything except command. "You need a hospital." "I need Marco. Franco. Everyone at the estate in 20 minutes. I glanced at her. The swelling around her I had gotten worse just in the drive. Purple spreading down her cheekbone like a stain. "You're hurt." "I'm aware." "That needs." "What it needs," she cut me off, "is to never have happened. But since we're past that, what it needs now is every man who saw it dealt with before sunrise." I turned onto the highway. Pushed the speed up past legal. She leaned her head back against the seat. Closed her one good eye. For just a second, she looked like what she was, someone who'd been jumped in the rain and left bleeding on a sidewalk. Then she opened her eye again, and the Queen was back. "How many witnesses?" I asked. For that I saw clearly. Could be more. "Did they know who you were?" She was quiet too long. They knew. My hands tightened on the wheel. Someone had hit the Mafia Queen in public, knowing exactly who she was, and walked away. That wasn't random violence. That was a declaration. Who sent them? "I don't know yet." She touched her face carefully, winced. "But they said something before they ran. Something about debts being paid." Debts. That narrowed it down to about 500 people who thought they had grievances. Most of them were already dead. I pulled through the estate gates. The main house was lit up like a cathedral, every window glowing. Marco's car was already in the drive. Franco's beside it. She'd called them before she called me. I should have expected that. Should have known I wasn't first. But something about seeing those cars already there, knowing she'd reached out to them while she was still bleeding, while whoever did this was still running. It sat wrong. I parked. Came around to open her door. She stood slowly, like her ribs hurt but she wouldn't say it. Straightened her coat. Wiped the blood from her jaw with her sleeve. "When we go inside," she said, not looking at me, "you don't mention the injury. No one asks how bad it is. We focus on names, locations, and methods. They're going to see your face. They're going to see what I allow them to see." She walked toward the house. I followed 3 steps behind, the way I always did. But my hand still remembered the feel of her face between them. The way she'd looked at me under that broken streetlight. Like she wasn't sure I'd stay. Marco stood when we entered. Franco was already pacing. Both of them stopped moving the second they saw her face. "Jesus," Marco breathed. She crossed to the head of the table. Sat like nothing was wrong. Like her, I wasn't swollen shut, and her lip wasn't split. "We have a problem," she said. Franco recovered first. Always did. Who? 4 men. Maybe more. Alley between 5th and Morgan, around 11. Description. She rattled off details. Heights, builds, what they wore. One had a tattoo on his neck. Snake or dragon, she couldn't tell in the rain. Another had a scar through his eyebrow. I watched her deliver the information like she was describing strangers. Not the men who'd cornered her. Who'd put their hands on her. They knew who I was, she added. Said something about debts being paid. Marco pulled out his phone. Started making calls. Franco moved to the window, staring out at nothing, jaw tight. We're going to need everyone, Franco said. Every man we have on the streets tonight. No. Her voice cut through the room. 6 men. No more. 6. Franco turned. Someone just, he stopped himself. Started again. This needs to be loud. This needs to be public. We need. 6 men, she repeated. Quiet. Clean. No attention. That's a mistake. It's an order. The room went silent. Franco's hands curled into fists at his sides, but he didn't argue further. I understood what she was doing. Going loud meant admitting what happened, admitting she'd been vulnerable, that someone had gotten close enough to hurt her. It would invite questions. Invite doubt. 6 men hunting in silence was different. That was just business. Marco ended his call. I have 3 possibles. All connected to the Volkov crew. They've been pushing into the east side for months. Volkov. She said the name like it tasted bad. He thinks I'm stretched too thin to respond. Are you? The question came from Franco. Bold. Dangerous. She looked at him for a long moment. Her good eye cold and unreadable. Find them, she said instead of answering. Bring them to the warehouse on Pier 9. I want them alive. All 4. However many you can find before dawn. But I want the one with the neck tattoo breathing when I arrive. Marco nodded. Started making more calls. Franco hesitated. You should rest. Let us handle. I'll rest when they're dealt with. Your face. My face, she said quietly, is exactly why I need to be there. She stood. Swayed slightly. Caught herself on the table edge. I was moving before I thought about it. Across the room in 3 strides. She waved me off. I'm fine. But when she walked toward the door, I saw her favor her left side. Saw the way she held her ribs. They'd done more than hit her face. I followed her out of the room. Down the hallway toward her private quarters. She didn't tell me to leave. Didn't acknowledge I was there either. Inside, she went straight to the bathroom. I heard water running. Heard her sharp intake of breath. When she emerged, she'd wiped most of the blood away. The damage looked worse clean. You need to see someone, I said. I need to change clothes. She moved to her closet. Pulled out a black shirt. A doctor. I have one. He'll be here in the morning. That's 8 hours away. She turned to look at me. Really look at me. Why are you still here? Because you're hurt. And I'm not leaving until someone makes sure you're not bleeding internally. Something flickered across her face. There and gone too fast to name. She pulled off her coat. Started unbuttoning her shirt. I should have looked away. Should have stepped out. I didn't. The bruising started at her ribs and spread up her left side. Purple and red and angry. The kind of damage that came from boots. From someone who knew where to kick to make it last. Christ, I said. She didn't respond. Just finished undressing like I wasn't there. Like her torso wasn't a map of violence. When she reached for the clean shirt, her hands finally shook. I crossed to her. Took the shirt. Let me. She didn't fight me. Didn't say anything. Just stood there while I helped her dress like she was made of glass. My fingers brushed her ribs. She flinched but didn't pull away. How bad? I asked quietly. Bad enough. Can you breathe? Enough to give orders. I buttoned the shirt carefully. Stepped back. She looked at herself in the mirror. At the swollen eye. The split lip. The bruises no amount of makeup would hide. They're going to talk, she said. Not to me. To her reflection. Everyone who saw it tonight. By morning, half the city will know someone put hands on me and walked away. Then we make sure they don't walk much longer. It's not enough. Her voice dropped. Fear is all I have. The second they see me bleed, the second they think I'm weak. You're not weak. I got jumped in an alley like some nobody. You survived. Survival isn't the same as strength. I moved to stand behind her. Met her eyes in the mirror. You called Marco first, I said. Before me. She went very still. You called Franco second. Then me. Why? Because they needed to mobilize. Because you didn't want me to see you like that. Her jaw tightened. She didn't deny it. I saw you anyway, I continued. And I'm still here. She turned to face me. One good eye searching mine for something. Why? Because someone touched you, I said. And I'm going to make sure they regret being born. Marco called at 2 a.m. She answered on the first ring. Listened. Hung up without saying a word. They found two of them. I was already moving toward the door. She grabbed her coat, slower than usual, and I saw the way she held her side. You don't need to come, I said. Yes. I do. The drive to Pier 9 took 15 minutes. Neither of us spoke. The warehouse sat at the end of a row of abandoned buildings, dark except for a single light in the back. Franco met us at the door. Both alive, he said. The one with the neck tattoo and his friend. The other two are in the wind. What have they said? Nothing yet. Waiting for you. She walked past him. I followed. The warehouse smelled like rust and salt water. Two men knelt in the center of the space, hands zip-tied behind their backs. Blood on both their faces. Not fresh. They'd been worked over before we arrived. The one with the neck tattoo, a dragon I could see now, looked up when she entered. His eyes went wide. Recognition. Then fear. Good. She circled them slowly, taking her time, letting them see her face in the overhead light. The swelling. The bruises. The split lip. You know who I am, she said. Not a question. The dragon tattoo nodded. Then you know this was a mistake. We were just, his voice cracked. We were following orders. Whose orders? He hesitated, looked at his companion, back at her. Volkov's. Franco cursed under his breath. I'd expected it, but hearing it confirmed was different. Dmitry Volkov. Russian. Connected. Running half the drug trade on the east side and pushing for more. What were your orders? She asked. Send a message. Make noise. Show that, he stopped. Show that what? Silence. She crouched in front of him. Winced slightly, but covered it. Show that I'm vulnerable. That my territory isn't as protected as everyone thinks. Something like that. And the others? The two who ran. They weren't with us. They were just, they saw what happened and scattered. Witnesses. Yeah. She stood slowly. Looked at Franco. Find them. Before sunrise. I want every person who saw this either working for us or gone. Gone how? She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The dragon tattoo started talking faster. Look, we didn't know it would. We thought it was just intimidation. Volkov said you wouldn't retaliate, that you had too much heat from the DA's office, that you'd let it slide to avoid. Let it slide. Her voice was ice. Someone puts their hands on me in my own territory, and Volkov thought I'd let it slide. He said you'd gone soft. That the Queen was just a name now, that. She kicked him. Hard. Right in the ribs where I knew hers were broken. He went down gasping. "Do I seem soft?" she asked quietly. She had a meeting at noon. I learned about it from Marco, who pulled me aside while she was still in the warehouse. "The Rossi family," he said. "Scheduled 2 weeks ago. She's supposed to negotiate the harbor access agreement. Cancel it. She won't. Look at her face." I know. Marco's expression was grim. "But she says if she cancels now, word will spread that she's incapacitated. That she's hiding. She is hiding. She hasn't left the estate except for," I gestured toward the warehouse behind us, "this. Which is exactly why she needs to show up tomorrow. Looking like she always does. In control." I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him it was impossible, that there was no amount of makeup that would hide the damage. That she could barely stand upright without wincing. But I knew her better than that. She emerged from the warehouse 20 minutes later. Whatever had happened inside, the two men weren't coming out. Franco followed behind her, phone already to his ear. "Tomorrow," she said when we got back to the car. "I need you to drive me to the Rossi meeting." "You're not going." "Yes, I am." "You can barely." "I'll manage." She settled into the seat carefully. "The meeting is at the Maritime Club. Noon. Wear the dark suit." I started the engine. Didn't respond. "I mean it," she continued. "This meeting happens. The Rossis can't see weakness. They're going to see your face. They're going to see what I show them." We drove in silence. The sky was starting to lighten at the edges. Dawn coming whether we were ready or not. Back at the estate, she went straight to her room. I watched her climb the stairs, each step deliberate, controlled. Hiding the pain that had to be radiating through her ribs with every breath. At 11 a.m., I knocked on her door. She opened it wearing a black dress. High-necked. Long-sleeved. Her hair pulled back severely. And her face. She'd done something. The makeup was flawless, almost mask-like. The swelling around her eye had gone down slightly, enough that she could open it. Dark glasses covered most of the damage. "It'll have to do," she said. "You look like I got hit by a car." "I know." She adjusted the glasses. "But I look like I survived it. That's what matters." The drive to the Maritime Club was quiet. She stared out the window the entire time, one hand pressed subtly against her ribs. I parked in front. Came around to open her door. She stepped out like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't held together by willpower and spite. "Wait here," she said. "This won't take long." "I'm coming in." "The Rossis won't." "I don't care what the Rossis will or won't accept. I'm coming in." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded once. We walked toward the entrance together. Her steps measured. Perfect. Not a single hint of pain. The Rossis were already seated when we entered. 3 men in expensive suits at a table overlooking the harbor. The oldest one, Sal, stood when he saw her. His eyes went immediately to her face, to the dark glasses that didn't quite hide everything. "An accident," she said before he could ask. "Nothing serious." Sal didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. "Please sit." She took the chair across from him. I stood behind her, 2 steps back. Close enough to move if I needed to. The conversation started with pleasantries. Weather. Traffic. The kind of meaningless exchange that preceded real business. But I watched Sal's eyes keep drifting back to her face. To the slight discoloration visible at her jawline. The careful way she held herself. "The harbor agreement," she said, cutting through the small talk. "I assume you've reviewed the terms." "We have." Sal leaned back. "And we have concerns." "Such as?" "The percentage you're asking. 20 points seems excessive for what amounts to simple access. Simple access to the most profitable harbor route in the city." Her voice was steady. Cold. 20 points is more than fair. Perhaps 6 months ago. But circumstances change. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. She removed her glasses slowly. Let him see the full extent of the damage to her eye. The bruising that makeup couldn't completely hide. Circumstances, she repeated. There are rumors, Sal said carefully, that your position is less secure than it once was. That certain parties are testing boundaries. And you're concerned about backing someone who might not deliver. We're concerned about making a long-term deal with someone who might not be long-term. She was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she smiled. It looked wrong with the split lip. Dmitry Volkov sent men to test me 2 nights ago. Do you know where those men are now? Sal didn't answer. They're not anywhere, she continued. They don't exist anymore. Which is what happens when people mistake patience for weakness. We heard Volkov himself. Is next. She leaned forward slightly, winced but covered it. So if your concern is whether I can maintain control, whether I can deliver on agreements, let me be clear. The fact that I'm sitting here, 2 days after someone tried to make an example of me, should tell you everything you need to know about my position. Sal exchanged glances with his associates. 20 points, she said again. Or you can negotiate with whoever tries to fill the power vacuum after I dismantle Volkov's operation piece by piece. Your choice. The silence stretched. Finally, Sal nodded. 20 points. We'll have the papers drawn up by end of week. Good. She stood. Swayed slightly. I was there in a second, hand on her elbow. She didn't shake me off this time. We made it to the car before her knees buckled. I caught her before she hit the ground. I'm fine, she said. But her weight was against me. Full and heavy. You're not fine. You're barely conscious. I got her into the car. She leaned her head back, eyes closed, breathing shallow. The estate, she said. Hospital. Estate. The doctor will be there by the time we arrive. I drove faster than I should have. Watched her in the mirror. She didn't move the entire drive except to press her hand harder against her ribs. Dr. Caruso was waiting when we pulled up. Older man, silver hair, the kind of discretion that came with treating people who couldn't afford public records. He took one look at her and gestured toward the house. Upstairs. Now. I carried her. She protested weakly but didn't fight when I lifted her. In her room, Dr. Caruso worked quickly. Removed her dress. Examined the bruising. Pressed carefully along her ribs while she bit back sounds of pain. 2 fractured ribs, he said finally. Possibly 3. I need x-rays to be certain. No hospital, she said. I have portable equipment. It'll take an hour to bring it here. Then bring it. He made a call. Left the room. I stayed. She looked at me from the bed, still in just her undergarments, bruises spreading like storm clouds across her torso. You should go, she said. Should I? Marco will need updates. Franco will want to know about the Rossi meeting. They can wait. She was quiet. Then, why are you doing this? Doing what? Staying. Carrying me. Looking at me like, she stopped. Started over. You've worked for me for 3 years. You've never. Never what? Acted like you cared whether I lived or died. The words landed wrong. Made something tight happen in my chest. I've always cared, I said. You've always followed orders. That's different. Is it? She studied me. Really looked at me for maybe the first time since this started. I don't know what you want from me. I don't want anything. Everyone wants something. Then maybe I'm not everyone. Dr. Caruso returned before she could respond. Set up his equipment. The x-rays confirmed 3 fractured ribs, extensive soft tissue damage, and what he called significant trauma that would take weeks to heal properly. He wrapped her torso. Left medication. Gave instructions she'd probably ignore. When he left, She was already trying to stand. Where are you going? Volkov needs to be dealt with. Tonight. Before he hears about the Rossi meeting and realizes. You're not going anywhere tonight. This isn't your decision. I moved to stand in front of her. Close. Then make it yours. Decide you're going to rest for 12 hours. Decide you're going to let your body heal enough that you don't collapse in front of the next person trying to take your territory. And if Volkov moves while I'm resting, then I'll handle it. You. Me. She looked up at me. Something shifting in her expression. You'd do that? I'd do anything, I said. And meant it. She slept for 6 hours. Then woke demanding a phone and a progress report. Franco arrived with both. Also brought news I knew she wouldn't like. Volkov's gone quiet, Franco said. Too quiet. None of his usual shipments. No movement on the docks. His clubs are operating but management only, no sign of him personally. He's planning something, she said. Or running. Dmitry Volkov doesn't run. She shifted in bed, grimaced. He's waiting to see what I do next. Which is what? She looked at me. Then back at Franco. We make a public appearance. Tomorrow night. The opening at Castellano's gallery. Every family in the city will be there. You can barely stand, I said. Then I'll sit. But I'll be seen. She reached for the water on her nightstand. Her hand shook slightly. Volkov needs to understand that putting me in a hospital bed isn't the same as putting me in the ground. You're not in a hospital bed, Franco pointed out. Because I chose not to be. That's the message. Franco nodded slowly. Left to make arrangements. I stayed. You think this is a mistake, she said. I think you're risking a lot to prove a point. The point is everything. The second they think I'm weak, the second they believe I can't protect what's mine, this entire organization collapses. She met my eyes. You know that. I did. Didn't mean I had to like it. The next evening, I helped her dress. Black gown that hid the wrapping around her ribs. Hair down, covering most of the fading bruises. Makeup that made her look almost normal. Almost. The gallery was full when we arrived. She took my arm walking in, leaning on me more than anyone else would notice. But I felt every ounce of weight, every careful step. Conversation stopped when we entered. Eyes tracked us across the room. She smiled. Nodded greetings. Moved through the crowd like nothing was wrong. Castellano himself approached. I heard you were indisposed. You heard wrong. Clearly. His gaze flickered to her face. To the shadow of bruising still visible at her temple. An accident, I heard? A misunderstanding. It's been resolved. We circulated. She spoke with the Moretti family. The Chin operation. 3 smaller crews that operated under her protection. And then Volkov walked in. He saw her immediately. His expression didn't change, but something hardened around his eyes. She turned to me. Whispered, "Stay close." Volkov crossed the room. Stopped 3 feet away. I heard you weren't well, he said. His English was perfect. Accent barely there. As you can see, rumors of my decline have been exaggerated. Pity. He smiled. I was hoping we could discuss territory redistribution, since you seem to be struggling with current demands. The only struggle, she said quietly, is deciding how to respond to attempted murder. I'm leaning toward complete annihilation, but I'm open to suggestions. The room had gone silent. Everyone watching. Volkov's smile never wavered. Strong words from someone who needed help standing. She stepped away from me. Stood on her own despite what it cost her. I'm standing now. Volkov stared at her for a long moment. Then nodded once. We should talk. Privately. No. Her voice carried across the gallery. Anything you have to say, you can say here. He didn't like that. I saw his jaw tighten, saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. Very well. He clasped his hands behind his back. I'm prepared to offer compensation for the misunderstanding. Call it a gesture of goodwill between neighbors. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? I want you gone. Out of the East Side. Out of the Harbor District. Back to Brooklyn where you started. Murmurs rippled through the room. That was every inch of territory Volkov had gained in the past 2 years. She was asking him to dismantle his entire operation. That's not reasonable, Volkov said. Neither was putting your hands on me. I didn't. Your men. Your orders. She took a step closer. I saw her wince, but she hid it well. You wanted to test me. See if I'd fight back or roll over. Consider this your answer. You're making a mistake. The mistake was already made. I'm just deciding how many people pay for it. Volkov's expression went cold. You think because you showed up to a party you've won? You're held together with tape and spite. Everyone here can see it. And yet I'm still standing. Still giving orders. Still deciding who operates in my city and who doesn't. Her voice dropped. Can you say the same? Something flickered across his face. Confusion. Then understanding. What did you do? She smiled. The same wrong smile from the Rossi meeting. Franco appeared in the doorway. Gave her a small nod. Your shipment at Pier 12, she said to Volkov. The one that was supposed to arrive tonight. It's been redirected. Along with your storage facility in Red Hook. And the 3 dealers you had working Lexington Avenue, they're working for me now. Volkov went very still. You wanted to know if I was weak, she continued. If I could still protect what's mine. So I protected it. And while you were waiting to see what I'd do, I took everything you left unguarded. You're starting a war. No. I'm ending one. She gestured to the room. Everyone here is witness. Dmitry Volkov attempted to kill me. Failed. And lost his territory in the process. That's the price of failure in this city. Volkov looked around. Saw the faces watching him. Saw his position crumbling in real time. He turned and walked out without another word. The gallery erupted in conversation the moment he left. She swayed slightly. I caught her elbow. We're leaving, I said quietly. Not yet. We need to. Now. For once, she didn't argue. We made it to the car before someone shouted behind us. I turned. Saw a man running toward us. Gun already raised. Everything slowed down. I moved without thinking. Pushed her behind me. Reached for my own weapon. The shot echoed across the parking lot.